Hey everyone, welcome to another live edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Pele, Josh Pele, and Mario O'Haron talking Charger football with you throughout the year, 2 to 3 times a week. And again, as we get close to the draft this month, this is the exciting part. We do want to ask you, though, right there to click the like button, subscribe button, all that stuff that helps us keep the show going. Again, it's a live show. You can leave your comments. And even if you're watching the show and you missed the live version of it, please leave comments. We'll go back. We read those as well. But we appreciate everything you guys do supporting the show, as it has picked up tremendously, talking Charger football with the people in Southern California and throughout the country. As mentioned before, we have a great guest on today, and we're going to start off because he was a first-round pick in the draft. We talk about how the draft works out. Of course, 8th overall pick in the 1989 draft out of Pittsburgh. It's Burt Grossman. Burt joins the show, and Bert, got to ask you, you were taken number one, overall by the Chargers. As you were getting ready to come out of college and you knew you were probably a first-round pick, what was going through your mind about what team was going to be the right fit for you? And did you know the Chargers were going to take you?
No, I didn't actually. I had a unique – I got hurt my senior year, so I missed probably 6 or 7 games. So I had to go to every All-Star game and go practice against everybody and playing the games just to make up that film, just so they could see what you do live. So I was kind of worn out by the time that went right into the combine. So after that, the draft process obviously a little different. We didn't even have cell phones back then, or internet or anything. So everything was landline calling, and it would be nonstop all the time, jockeying for position. I was pretty confident I was going to either be Chicago or Tampa Bay. The Chargers kind of came in late. They flew me out here and met with everybody. And they just, last minute, I don't even think they knew. I think they almost lost the pick because they took so much time trying to, decide the pick. And later came out there trying to work a trade with Chicago, with Jim McMahon. And they ended up doing that afterwards. But it was going to be a draft day trade, and I would have ended up in Chicago.
Bert, you're a guy that played in the trenches. If you were in the Chargers situation, would you shore up the offensive line, or would you go after one of those flashy new toys and Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
That's if it was anyway but Harbaugh, I'd say you'd have to go after. I mean, if Harrison's available and you don't take him, then you draft an offensive lineman over him. I think that would everybody would implode pretty much. Even though they need offensive line, Jim's notorious for being a physical team wherever he goes and turning into a physical team. But somebody like Harrison, I just don't see how you pass him up and go get an offensive lineman. I'll give you an example going way back to my year. Green Bay Packers had the 2nd pick in the draft, and they picked Tony Mandridge. I don't know if you remember him.
Of course.
The greatest offensive line prospect ever. They took him over Barry Sanders, and what happened. They took him over Deion Sanders. So, just those kind of players, when they come around, it kind of doesn't matter where you're at. You have to pick them if they're available. You just can't go after an offensive lineman. Granted, you have to have a great offensive line, but I just don't see how any way possible, if that player's available, you don't take him over anybody else.
Now, when you got drafted, I'm always curious on this as well. There's obviously a celebration moment, right? Pop champagne, go out, take a couple have a couple pops, have a good time. But how fast is from the celebrating to, all right, it's time to work. It's the NFL, baby, let's go. How quick is that kind of turnaround? And was it a little bit slower for you? Because I did read that you signed on a Saturday and then played on a Sunday, which to me is just that's it. How the hell was that? That had to be insane.
So most of my partying I did the night before the draft, so I had a bad hangover. And then I had to get on the plane that day and then fly to San Diego for the press conference. Sat next to a guy the whole time, had no idea who I was, and just dogged me as a pick. Just was going off why would they pick him? He's a weirdo, he's quirky, and I just sat there all the time and never even told him. We walked off the plane, and then all the media was there, and they started interviewing me. I never heard from him again. But that as far as the Saturday and Sunday was interesting to say the least. Back then it wasn't like now. We didn't have all these trainers. I was 8th pick. My first year salary was $250,000, which is a lot, but compared to now, it's absolutely nothing. So you didn't have NIL money. You didn't have trainers. You didn't do anything. I think I was still smoking cigarettes back then during the season, to be honest with you. And signing on Saturday night and then playing on Sunday. I had to start on Sunday, not only play. I was starting the end. And we had a really good defensive line, but it was up in Oakland. or it was LA then actually, at the Coliseum. You know, I came from Philadelphia. I grew up in Philadelphia and went to Pittsburgh. We no clue what smog was. So it was, you know, early in the season, it was probably 90 degrees. It was smog. You know, it's like this combination. They had Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen at the time, and it was just, I literally was going to quit at halftime. I give my signing bonus back and just leave. It was that. I mean, and then, you know, you start to pick it up a little different, but that was a rude awakening. You know, like I said, with those two running backs, with the heat, with the smog, I mean, not being in shape at all, and literally having, you know, 6, 8, 10 hours to go through your whole playbook. Not that it was complicated for a defensive end by any means, but it was an experience. But it got a little better after that. But that was probably, it got a little better till then. We went up to Denver, and I had no idea what altitude was. And you have to deal with John Elway and chase him around at altitude. And I got like, I was at and smoking, and I got out of breath, like literally walking the 3 steps up to the bus from the hotel to take it to the stadium. But after those 2 games passed, I was all right after that. I wouldn't want to see the film of those 2 games.
It's so what was the biggest transition from college to the NFL? We always hear about how long does it take guys to make the transition. You're playing against men, guys who are strong, guys who are smarter. What is the biggest transition? You know, when I started recruiting class, probably had, you know, 25 guys. I wasn't redshirted at all, so I was literally a 4-year guy and then went out. So I wasn't a little bit older. It's the men thing. You know, like I said, you see a lot of, at that time, people were still smoking in the locker room at halftime. It was just, you know, guys you see on TV, like, I mean, you're just in awe of like Bo Jackson when you see him on TV growing up, whether it's at Auburn or then you're at Pitt and you watch him, and then you actually have to line up against that guy and you're looking at that guy, or Dan Marino, who you idolized growing up, and you get to actually try to tackle him, and you almost don't want to tackle him out of the respect thing when you're young. So as you get older, you know, 2-3 years into it, you get a little better at it, but there's a lot of idolizing going on from, you know, people that you grew up watching, to actually play against them, to actually have opportunity to hit them. You idolize Dan Marino so much, I don't want to touch him. I don't think I ever did touch him, to be honest. Yeah, I think subconsciously I just didn't rush the passer against him. But that was probably the biggest transition. And the other thing is, you know, when you're in college, there's always, unless you're in the SEC pretty much, but there's always like you're going against a bum 1 or 2 or 3 weeks of the year. You know, whether it's Rutgers or whether, you know, whoever it is. I mean, if you're a high level first rounder and, you know, half your schedule is, to be honest with you, guys that are going to be accountants in a month or 2. That doesn't happen once you get to the NFL. There's like no off weeks, there's no bums, there's no accountants, there's none of that. So you kind of that's the biggest part. There's just no weak spot to go against people anymore that you can exploit.
Bert, you're a head coach now of the San Diego Strike Force. Chargers obviously bringing Jim Harbaugh to be their new head coach. How much of a difference can a head coach make?
Well, I'll give you the story. I'm not the head coach anymore. I fired myself and made somebody else the head coach. But he made such a difference, better coach than me, actually. So we're undefeated now, ranked like 3rd in the league. Whereas I think I won 1 game in a year or 2. For the Chargers, you know what? When everybody talked about it, I would have said no way. I've known Jim a long time. John was our grad assistant at Pitt when I was there. Jim's dad was my coach at Pitt when I was there. His sister dated my roommate. I coached his son at Saints. So I have a lot of connection. I've known him forever. Jim doesn't lose at anything if he can help it. I mean, he would rather die than lose at something. And I thought, you know, I mean, it's an obvious thing. It's like, get Harbaugh, and which anybody would take him if they can get him. But the thing was, I never thought the Chargers would give up that much control. And if you know Jim, he has to control everything from, you know, what kind of socks they wear to what they eat to what they watch on TV to everything. And that's part of his formula that makes him great. But I just never thought the Chargers, being the, you know, nepotism capital with Dean and the 2 sons, they'd ever give up that control. At some point, I would guess that the NFL made them give up that control. I mean, they're not doing well. They haven't got it right with anybody ever. And I don't even think they paid their $600 million fee for relocation to the other owners back yet. So I think it was a big push by the NFL kind of to actually, hey, you need to get this guy. You need to correct this. This is our biggest market, one of our biggest markets, and it's failing miserably.
When, you know, you've obviously known the Harbaughs for a long time, known Jim like a long time. What do you think makes him tick differently? Like what has made him be so successful with Stanford, with the Niners, to Michigan, to now. What kind of has really folded and made that guy so special? And have you ever talked trash to the Harbaughs? Because I feel like you're a guy that you could talk a good amount of smack to. And I'd love to hear a little back and forth if you guys ever had any.
No, well, Jack, his dad, he was assistant head coach at Pitt, and we had a little kind of falling out when he first got there, and then I got in line real quick. I mean, one of the, men-wise, probably one of the greatest ones I've been around as a coach was his dad, Jack. Just as a character, everything, just does everything right. John, we didn't get along too well when he was a GA, but they're all the same. They're all just really intense. And I think it comes from their dad. Their sister's married to a coach, I think at Xavier, basketball coach. So they're all
Tom Green.
Yeah, athletics are everything to them. Athletics, family, and God. If you ask them, a lot of people say it, but they actually live that. So I think he grew up that way, and that's just the way they are. It's not an act by any means. Never really. No, Jim and I we had one time where he got mad at me, and that was. We were doing a TV show in Chicago. I think it was 1992. We just got bounced by Miami, and they got bounced by somebody. And he was talking about somebody on the team and how he's going to be such an impact. And then on live air, and I had to tell him that guy got traded like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something, and he didn't know it. But he was a little mad at that. But other than that, we always got along good. And then his son was a defense lineman at Saints, and he was at USD at the time, so he'd always be at practice. But I like Jim. He's different, but. I mean, I don't know if I could hang out with Jim and go out drinking, but he's a different character. I can tell you that.
That's what everyone says. Jim, excuse me, Bert. Normally, I do the show with Junior Seau's jersey framed right behind me. I just happen to be in a different room for this show. But you and Junior were extremely close, and a lot of people will say, no matter what, Junior's the greatest Charger of all time. Since I have you here. What's the Junior story that comes to mind, or what's your memory of Junior that you say, that's why I miss my friend?
Football-wise, I would say, we were roommates, and he was best man at both my weddings. He would have been my third, but he's not around today. I would say, the funny thing about Junior was such a kid when he came in. I remember it was his rookie year, and we were roommates. Still had roommates back then, and we were going to Cleveland, and it was early in the morning, and he was yelling and screaming at the window and having a heart attack, like 9/11 or something happened outside. And I was like, I can't curse on here, so I won't tell the whole thing, but it's like, yelling at him or whatever because he woke me up. And I was notoriously lazy, and Junior was a notoriously overworker, and I think that's why they put us together. Hopefully that he would rub off on me a little bit, which never happened. But he was going crazy because it was snowing outside. He'd never seen snow, and we were going to play Cleveland that day in the snow, and he thought it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to him in his life.
It's for people who weren't around when Junior was around. Not only did he have that motor that never stopped, but man, was he great off the field too. I mean, so many people that knew Junior that time just he made you feel like you were family the second you met him, and so. I was talking to a mutual friend of yours and mine this morning who just have a bunch of stories about how great you and Junior were together and as people, not even just talking as players, but as people. But Bert, man, we really appreciate you joining us. Giving us some kind of insight what goes on with the draft, how it's changed a little bit. We're glad you're around the game. Again, throw a plug out there for the Strike Force team.
Wait, was the friend Jeff Ewert? Is that who you were talking to?
Exactly right. You nailed it. Why did he give you a hard time the last couple of days? I mentioned my name.
He texted me this morning, so I had a little, inside info. But yeah, it's the end of the Strike Force. Like I said, we're 2-0 now. I think we're third or fourth in the league. We have a bye week this week. Following week, we're away, so we're not back till April 28th against the defending champs from last year, the Bay Area Panthers. So come on out. Contact me, or we have a foundation where you can actually purchase tickets and get money sent back to your favorite charity or yourself. So it's a good fundraiser for little league teams, youth football, anything like that. It works for everybody.
Fantastic, Bert. Thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. I hope our first round pick smokes cigarettes every game. I hope so.
That's the best thing they found on my drug test. Don't worry. There was the least damaging thing that was on my drug test when I went through.
That's
Thank
Burt
you, Bert.
Grossman right there, former first-round pick of the Chargers, 8th overall, 1989 draft. And again, number 92 was fantastic to watch in a Charger uniform. Again, Bert, thank you so much.
Thank you.
There you go. So, guys, again, man, you talk about the draft and the excitement, the idea of things going in. Now, I was thinking as he was talking that you guys were probably, your minds were blown when he said people would smoke cigarettes. It was very common, even in the 80s, where guys were smoking cigarettes at halftime. Chuck Muncie, who was one of the greatest Charger running backs of all time and was fast and strong, dude, he was smoking heaters, man, during training camp, league against the goalpost, in the summer, during halftime, he's dropping heaters. It happened all the time. I mean, it sounds so ridiculous that a pro athlete would put smoke into their lungs when they're doing something physical, but it was very, very common back in the day, which is bizarre. I mean, I was at a restaurant last night, and the guy I was with just said to the hostess, how many? And 3 of us. He goes, non-smoking section, please. He just said it as a joke, but you used to have to walk into restaurants and ask for a non-smoking or smoking section when you'd eat. It wasn't that long ago, but it was ridiculous, right? To think here's Burt Grossman, the number one pick for the Chargers in '89, and he's smoking cigarettes, before his first game.
Yeah, I heard back in the NBA they used to drink like a 6-pack at halftime to mellow out. So it's crazy how things have changed like over the years. Also, people in the comments think you look like a hostage right now because you're in a different room. Do you want to speak on that for a second?
I feel like a hostage.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, here's the thing, man. So I think I told you last
You need
week.
cigarettes.
Dude, I do need cigarettes. I could use a heater. But I tell you, I have people painting my house right now, just like I did last week. Well, if you're in Southern California, it rained. So it pushed everything back 3 days. So I had to find a room where you weren't going to see people walking through the door because they're painting the door. That's usually right behind me. So I was like, guys are going to start walking there, start drilling on the door and everything. They have no idea what's happening. So I moved into a room I'm normally not in. The thing I can't figure out is this goddamn light. Like I feel like a hostage. I don't know where to go with the light. I think it's this side that's all messed up. But yeah, don't look very good. I'm telling you. Everyone's getting me on the sun because of the coaching, but holy cow, I cannot figure out the light in this room.
Yeah, you
you
need
do
to
look
put some
really
sunscreen
tan.
on. Yeah, you're gonna look like Leatherface in like 20 years if you don't put some sunscreen on.
Yeah,
That's for a different conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
Mario, what's your thoughts on Malik Neighbors in the Chargers facility? Is that just something the Chargers have to do because he's a top pick and they got to talk to him? Do you think that's actually something that's going to happen? Like, if you had to put a percentage on the Chargers drafting Malik Neighbors, where would you put it right now?
So it's interesting. Yeah, they had him in the building. And look, I know odds don't mean everything. Vegas doesn't know everything, but they know a lot. And, when I read that report and I go to the odds at number 5, and I see Neighbors is the favorite at plus 225. I would have said the percentage is about 25%, Dave. I honestly think right now it's 45-55. And it's 45 that Neighbors gets picked. It's 55 they go with the lineman. I think that's what we're at right now. I think it's very, very close. I think they're keeping the cards close to their chest. I think that I've said multiple times, I'll continue to say it until draft day. I think it really determines what the Cardinals are doing, but I also think that the move today by the Bills kind of signifies that Chargers aren't the only team that are desperately need a receiver in this draft. And when more than one team is desperate, you got to move quick. And I know they say this wide receiver draft class is loaded. It's loaded. But when multiple teams are preparing for this loaded class, I think that means you kind of got to be active, Dave. And kind of got to take first come, first serve. It's a buffet, and you got to load up on. I'd always load up on the Oreo pudding at Pizza Hut because you knew that sucker was gone when you came back around. So I'd get 2 loads of it, and then you got to get out. And I think that's what Chargers trying to do right now.
All right. This draft to me is very confusing. Like if I asked you to say, how sure of you, like on a percentage of 100% being best, that you could pick all 5 picks in the first round, what's your percentage? Like I'll tell you right now, my percentage is about 30% that I could pick all 5 picks right. I'm so confused. After number 1, I'm still not sure where Jaden Daniels go, where Drake May goes, where JJ McCarthy goes, where trades happen. I still feel that the Chargers are more likely to trade than Arizona. That's where I'm at.
So you think Arizona's most likely to draft Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I think Arizona still takes Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think the Chargers are the first team to trade in this draft. Now, if the Patriots were to do it, it wouldn't shock me either because the Patriots are in worse shape than the Chargers, in my opinion. So if the Patriots did it, wouldn't surprise me. But you're hearing more and more that, someone's trading in the top 5, but I don't think it happens till number 5. I think the Chargers are the team that does it.
I agree with you. I think the Chargers are definitely the team that's most likely to trade. And the team I think they're going to trade with, I just have the weirdest feeling, is the Raiders. I really think the Raiders are going to pull the trigger with the Chargers to move on up. And the Chargers are going to move down to, get more picks and then get the player that they want. I just have the weirdest feeling that the Chargers have someone in mind that we're not talking about. I could be the guy from Oregon State. It could be Bowers. I don't think it's going to be Bowers, though, but I really think they're going to take a right tackle that is a right tackle. The Joe Alt situation is something you can't gloss over, Mario. I'm sure you've seen the Rich Eisen clip of him talking about Joe Alt doing right tackle drills on his pro day. They said he was not even close to the same player doing drills on left tackle, which is understandable. I mean, he is a left tackle. You can't expect somebody to move over. Yeah, we did call it. You can't expect someone to move over.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll pat myself in the back. I wasn't going to do that, but thank you. So you can't expect someone to look just as good transitioning over to another side he's never played on. You can't miss on the 5th pick, Mario. If you're in the top 10, you really can't miss on any of those picks. Why would you take a chance on Joe Alt? I do think the Chargers are going to trade down and get the guy that they really want.
I completely agree with you. I think we're looking at more and more that you can't take this Joe Alt option. Like, you just can't. And the pro day speaks a lot. If you think he doesn't look the best at right tackle when he's going up against no one, it just drills, how the hell do you think he's going to look when Max Crosby's lined up on the other side? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just going to look ugly. It's going to be terrible. And, I just still go back to the point of, too, in this Harbaugh era that we're about to enter into for this next 5 years, we're not going to have the 5th pick ever again. We are not going to pick in the top 5 ever again. We might not even pick in the top 10 again. But that's realistic unless we have a trade. So I think take what you can get now. Take the opportunity now to get the top prospect right there. And then it's, hard to pick in the top 5. But then again, it's kind of easy because you have such a pick of the litter. Like you're in the most primal spot. Just go with the best football player available. And that's why I think 5 is what it is. And I go back to your point, Dave, if I could pick out the top 5, for some reason, I feel really solid and that it goes Williams, Daniels, May. I feel really solid in that. And I think the Cardinals are the team for me that's the hardest to read on what the hell they're going to do because I don't understand the direction they're going in. Like, I don't feel like the Chargers know Herbert's the guy and that it is their guy. They have him on an extension, obviously. But, I feel like the Cardinals don't fully know if they have Murray, Like, they don't know that Murray's the quarterback of the organization, quarterback of the future for them.
The Cardinals have to get, to me, the best player. I don't see the Cardinals trading out. And I understand, the front office is kind of new with the Arizona Cardinals. But, man, they've suffered for a long time. That organization's been a disaster. And I know the people that are there now weren't part of the disaster that were there. But you have to give Murray somebody to have success with. You're paying him so much money. I mean, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, how do you not grab him? How do you explain that to your fan base? How do you explain that to your quarterback? How do you explain that to your coach? I mean, one thing we said about Arizona last year, even with the lack of talent, man, that team played hard. Almost week after week, they played really, really hard. It's tough to play a 17-game schedule when your chances of winning aren't very good. Yet Arizona, right off the bat, they surprised Dallas early in the season. And you're going, that's a team that you can't sleep on. That's one of the best things you could say about an organization that's trying to turn it around, that their effort's always there. Here's my feeling is this. I mean, we think about this all the time. The three of us think about this all the time. The people listening to the show think about this all the time. Even though none of us have control of what's going to happen on draft day, we're consumed with what the Chargers are going to do on draft day, right? In that weekend. And if I'm an Arizona fan and if I'm a Charger fan, I understand this too. Marvin Harrison Jr. being there and not taking him is tough. It is tough. And Burt Grossman pointed that out a little bit right at the beginning when he says, do you remember Tony Mandarich? Now, I don't know if Josh remembers him, but I know Mario remembers him because he joined the Colts late in his career. And Tony Mandarich was a cover of Sports Illustrated. The guy was juicing like crazy. It was all steroided out. I mean, he looked like a WWE wrestler. There's not even any allegedly in there. He 100% was juicing. So he complete mess. But when you hear Burt say that you missed on Deion Sanders and you missed on Barry Sanders, you see what I'm saying? That's one of those where, what if Marvin Harrison is one of those guys? and you said no, and you went to that lineman we're talking about. Even if that lineman, guys, is an all-pro type lineman, it's still one of those of, man, you missed an all-time great. I mean, Detroit, if you go to Detroit, who do they tell you is the greatest of all time? They're going to tell you it's Barry Sanders. If you ask people who watch Deion Sanders, who is the greatest cornerback of all time, it's Deion Sanders. So you sit there and you say, we passed for what? These are once-in-a-lifetime guys. Marvin Harrison Jr., if he's his dad or better, how do you pass on that if you're Arizona or if you're the Chargers? Like that would hurt. Neighbors, I could pass on. I hate to say it. I know he's 1A and 1B. I got it. Neighbors, I could pass on. But just the name of Marvin Harrison Jr. being great and going, guys, we knew it. His dad's a Hall of Famer. He was great in college. He's never not been great in front of our eyes. To pass on him would be tough.
Is the last time the Chargers had a top pick and picked someone's son, Eli Manning, and that didn't work out. But I would love for the Chargers
kind of
to
worked
get
out.
Marvin Harrison. We didn't win a Super Bowl.
No,
Giants
he
won a
did.
Super Bowl.
He won 2 of them.
I don't care about the Giants. I care about the Chargers.
Yeah, but Eli wasn't a bust, right?
No, I'm just saying it didn't work out for the Chargers. I mean, I love Phillip. He's my favorite player of all time, but I'm saying he didn't stick with the team. Marvin Harrison Jr. would probably love to be a Charger, right? Because he gets to play with Justin Herbert. My question would be, Mario, Dave, does the Cardinals pick or trading that pick determine if the Chargers trade their pick? Because I like what Bert said. I mean, how could you possibly pass up on Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's sitting right there? Do you trade the pick regardless if you're the Chargers? Do you keep the pick regardless? Or are you watching what the Cardinals do and determining what you're going to do?
I'm bribing someone in the Cardinals organization to wire the room and to know. Like, that's how focused I'd be on the Cardinals. Honestly, that's how focused I'd be on them at 4. Like, I know, you have your plan going to draft day, worry about yourself on draft day, yada, yada, yada. Everyone has a plan to get in the face. Everyone has a plan to there's a trade right above you. And that trade leads to J.J. McCarthy getting picked. That trade leads to Drake May getting picked at 4. And you're sitting there going, wait, hold on. The guy that we thought wasn't available to us is now available. I think back to the Vikings, right? When the Vikings were like, I can't remember who traded up. Eagles traded, and Eagles traded, and they didn't draft Justin Jefferson. And you see all the Vikings guys go, what? All right. Yeah, this is easy. It's Justin Jefferson. I think that's how it should be for Chargers. You obviously have a plan, but as soon as a trade goes by through the Cardinals and you see Marvin Harrison, you laugh your ass off, and then you call right away to Goodell and you go, yeah, this is the easiest choice I've ever had to make in my life. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. Tell him to get in LA in an hour, and you hang up the freaking phone. You worry about the next pick that you make. It's that simple, Dave. It's that simple. But yeah, if Chargers, I'm going to offer myself up. When I was in like 4th grade, I infiltrated a class and stole some answers one time. So I'm a pretty good spy for a test. So like, if I got to sneak into the Cardinals organization, get some wiretaps, and for the Chargers organization, I'm willing to do that. I watched some Cold War docs, dude.
4th grade, you stole answers to a test?
Yeah.
Were you going to a private school or public school at the time?
100% public. I was never going private. Are you kidding me? I think my parents are going to send 5 kids to a private school.
I don't know. Italian Catholic family. I thought for sure it was private. I'm just guessing.
No.
I don't know.
No.
All right. So if someone makes a trade with the Cardinals, they're taking a quarterback. That's how Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to end up there. I mean, right? If someone's making a trade, they're taking a quarterback. They're trying to grab one of those guys. They're going to see guys jumping off the board and going, "Oh, the first 3 guys were quarterbacks." How do we rate the rest of them? The different tiers as Josh always puts them in. What direction do you possibly go? It's look, someone wrote in there, why are you guys against neighbors? Not against neighbors at all. That's not the point. I'm telling you, the one that would hurt the most to me was Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the one we knew his name a year ago. He's the one that everyone's been talking about for a few years. Wait till this guy's available in the draft. We just know his name, and we know his name because of his dad. His dad had a tremendous career with a tremendous quarterback, of course. But man, at the same time, when I look at this situation with the Chargers, I fully expect them to trade guys. But man, if Harrison Jr. is there, that's a tough one. Now, Josh, going to what you said, I think Field Yates has the same thing. He thinks the Chargers trade with the Raiders, and the Raiders move up, and he thinks Jaden Daniels is there at 5, which is a big surprise to me. But if you trade with the Raiders, you could get still your guy. Like we talk, our guy, or Brock Bowers, who we still like. You still could get Bowers at number 12, and you get something big for the Raiders.
Dude, if you walk away with Brock Bowers, a big time corner, or one of those really good receivers like Leggett or Rice, I mean, you had a great draft. I don't think you could hate on that. The one other thing I'm going to say about Joe Alt is I know we don't pay attention to the offensive linemen during the college football season like we do the running backs and the quarterbacks and the receivers, but Joe Alt was not a guy that was dominating to the point where you're like, he's really, 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 really good. You got to take
wasn't
him.
Orlando Pace. He wasn't that guy that used to talk about all the time.
No, he wasn't. And I'm sure he's a very good player, but he wasn't that dominant type of lineman that you can't miss on. So the best player in the draft that's available, I think that's who you should take. And I think the best player in the entire draft is Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the second best player in the entire draft is Malik Neighbors. But I do think the Cardinals trading that pick will determine if you're going to keep the 5th pick. I think that's probably what the Chargers are thinking. I mean, I hope that's what they're thinking. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, we're going to take him. If he's not, we're going to trade down with whoever wants our pick. Mario, Ben Herbert was at the Chargers facility working out the players. I'm sure you saw that. Ben Herbert, I'm going to screw this up every time. Ben Herbert's goals for the Chargers were, I'm going to make you harder to break, consistency, attention to detail, emotional stability, and then bigger, faster, stronger, more mobile. That's how you can describe our program. I'm usually don't give a crap about Chargers, workout program, but I'm so pumped to have a Chargers team that might stay healthy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And he kind of has that look, like when you look at him and there's like the pictures they posted, he's got like that crazy look in his eye. Like he's like Josh, who's the guy that Bama had as strength conditioning coach that did like 60 minutes on? You know what I'm talking about?
Scott
Who
Cochran.
was that guy?
Yeah. Scott Cochran.
Yeah, he kind of has that same kind of similar look in the eye where like, God, this guy's insane. And he was one Army recruiter away from going to the military. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of feeling I get from these guys. I love it, man. It's good to see also some stars there doing these volunteer offseason workouts, such as Herbert, such as Dorian James. It's good to see that. I think it's just an exciting thing, Dave, to see that this new era is here and, they're getting to work early in April because you win games now. You don't win games in September.
There's one of the people right on the side, I would say her name, but my eyes aren't good enough to say her name, says believes the Jets will take Bowers at 10 and the Chargers still miss out. It's fine. Just like Josh says, there's great picks at number 12. I think this draft is deep enough where you're going to get a good guy at number 12, whether that's your lineman, whether that's your cornerback. There are things you can do to help this team win. But most importantly, are you building more early draft picks to help this franchise eventually get in place to win a Super Bowl? I mean, look, the Patriots are a disaster. Their organization's a mess. The Panthers are a disaster. Outside of Justin Herbert and a couple other guys that the Chargers have, we have a ton of holes. I mean, just to be honest, look, what does the mirror tell us? We're not a well-balanced football team right now. And there's a lot of work to be done for this front office and this coaching staff. And just like, Josh mentioned a second ago, look, they got a great training staff. Understand all that stuff. But, man, you're trying to get the most out of guys who are unproven or guys who haven't proven a thing yet in this league. And the Chargers have major steps to take. They're in a rush right now because as a fan base, we're expecting a lot, and Jim Harbaugh expects a lot.
Yeah, he does expect a lot.
I mean, the thing with the Chargers is that the whole draft, I'm biased because I'm a Charger fan, but the whole draft is determined on what the Chargers do with the 5th pick. I know the Cardinals might trade their pick. They, whoever moves up could get J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix. I still don't understand why Michael Penix is getting written off as the 4th best quarterback. I think he's just as good as Drake May or better. I think Jaden Daniels isn't that much better than Michael Penix, but everybody's writing off Michael Penix. I think the Chargers really are the ones that determine what everybody does in the top 10. And like Dave said, you can move down to 12 and still get a great player. You could end up with like the 5th best player in the entire draft at number 12. Like, that's crazy because that's the kind of situation we're in right now. But I think you should do it, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is not there or Malik Neighbors. I'm one of the few people that thinks Malik Neighbors is just as good as Marvin Harrison Jr. That's how good I think Malik Neighbors is. So it'll be interesting what they do, Mario.
It'd be so interesting. It's just so fun to just think and dream right now. Like we're at this point where we're just dreaming, with like the draft just around the corner. I'm interested to kind of to see how aggressive Buffalo gets here, right? Because I think they went, we talk about how the Chargers kind of got themselves into a hole a little bit this year, right? Where they stuck Bosa. They got Bosa still. They have Max still. Fantastic. They let Williams go. We all saw that coming. Williams was go. They let Everett go. Kind of saw that coming a little bit. So there, Everett, there goes starting tight end. There goes your starting receiver, your second option. And then Keenan Allen's an unexpected goner. And they're like, all right, Joshua Palmer's a wide receiver 1 with 2 tight ends are more blocking tight ends than anything else. You have Quentin Johnston who's still trying to find his hands. And then what? You have Darius Davis, who's just a returner. And then you look at what the Bills did. They let Gabriel Davis walk, which I always just thought was a bad decision. I really like Gabriel Davis. And then they trade away Diggs to the Texans, and they let go a lot of guys on the secondary. And they're in the spot where they're trying to get away from this cap hell that was incoming for them, the similar thing that the Chargers did. But now the Bills, to me, are kind of scary. They have 11 picks in this draft. And the reason why I'm scared, Dave, is because what if the Chargers trade back because they go, we can take one of these receivers later, or 11, have you whatever, corner, whatever. The Bills have a lot of capital to play with now. A lot. And if they decide, hey, who traded back? All right, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and get a Duze. Let's go ahead and get Neighbors. Let's go. It worries me the aggression that they have right now because they can kind of take stuff away from the Chargers. And they're in the same conference right now with 2 QBs that are top tier level QBs. And they need to build around quick in this another evolution of their career. So they kind of scare me right now as a team that could kind of screw over the Chargers in the draft, if you will. I could be crazy. I've been called it before.
I think they're too far back, Mario, be honest with you. I mean, yeah, the 11 picks are fantastic, but, they're picking in the 20s. Chargers aren't going to go all the way back. I don't see them going all the way back into the 20s. But, look, the Buffalo Bills were kind of like all in. I mean, they signed Von Miller to that crazy contract after Von Miller won a Super Bowl with the Rams. It hasn't worked out for them, cost them a ton of money, injuries, everything else that happens. They had a great secondary, injuries. Those guys couldn't afford to keep those guys. Those guys end up taking off. And then, their situation is they still have the franchise quarterback. I believe they have the wrong head coach. But you have, Josh Allen, who's still one of the most dangerous guys in the NFL. The fact that they traded Diggs away to the Texans, man, made me smile because I think we talked about on the show. When Diggs opened his mouth last year and his family started opening their mouths about, Josh Allen basically not being the guy and how much he needs Diggs. Look, you say whatever you want. It's the franchise quarterback that makes the franchise go. And when people say, wide receivers make the quarterback go, I don't believe that for a second. Yeah, it's great to have that number one target. But, man, you have to have that quarterback that can make the decisions. Josh Allen's very good at what he does. Diggs has run into trouble everywhere he's gone. It's always the look at me show. Whether it was Minnesota, whether it was with the Bills, now he goes to the Texans. It's one of those where, good luck to you. And I know the Texans roster is definitely going in the right direction, but man, Diggs is getting older and you have a few years to prove that, hey, not only am I a Hall of Fame type wide receiver, I'm one that can also win Super Bowls where legends are made. Let's see what Diggs is all about. But I'm glad Buffalo said goodbye to Diggs today. And I'm sure there's part of Josh Allen saying it's on. And I know Buffalo probably is going to do their best to find someone to replace him, if not 2 guys to replace him. But I'm tired of these pro athletes that don't go with the team atmosphere, the team game. It's too tough, man. 53-man roster. We need every one of you. You can't have one guy sitting there saying I'm the most important person here. If you're the most important person there, you know it, and everyone else knows it, and they're talking about it. You don't need to tell everybody. And then to point fingers and say that's why this guy is not the number one guy. There's something wrong with the Diggs family.
With Stephon Diggs getting traded to Houston, I think Houston's the 3rd best team in the AFC. And I'm just saying that because I don't think the Bengals can stay healthy. If the Bengals are healthy, they're probably the 3rd best team. But Houston is nasty. That offense they have is really good. And Stephon Diggs going over there is going to help him. Stephon Diggs running his mouth makes no sense. His 4 years with the Bills, his targets are 160, 154, 164, 166. What do you think is the most targets Keenan Allen's ever got in a season?
Oh, that's funny.
Take a guess.
I'm going to go 140.
Oh, 152.
The most targets Keenan Allen's ever got in a season is 159, excuse me. So Stephon Diggs is right there at the top of the NFL getting the most targets every single year. I mean, the fact that he gets to pair up with CJ Stroud, I think it actually help him because I think CJ Stroud is not far behind Josh Allen, but Josh Allen's a fantastic quarterback. And that's why I wouldn't trade with the Bills if I'm the Chargers. They're still in the AFC. I'm not trying to help out the Bills. I don't want to help out any team in the AFC that could be a threat to the Chargers. Speaking of the Chargers being a threat, Mario, They're one of 6 teams whose projected win total is at least 2.5 wins higher than its 2023 actual win total. Chargers win total is projected at 8.5 for 2024. Do you think that's too high, too low, or just right?
Ooh, God, what was that book with the Bears again? Where it was like, is this coffee's too hot? I don't know why that came to my head right away. ADHD is really kicking in.
Goldilocks?
Yeah,
Goldilocks?
that's it. Yeah, I think this is the Goldilocks, baby. It's a cup of coffee you need to drink. It's the just right. It's the just right. I think 8.5 is perfect. This is a team that I think right now, as the roster stands, it's a very mid roster. You have a QB, it's fantastic. You have 2 edge rushers, fantastic. Arguably a third in Thule. But then what do you have? You don't have a linebacker. You don't have that much of a. You have an okay O line. You don't have any weapons. You don't have a running back. Your running back room's not really what Gus Edwards and what. So I think 8.5 is perfect, Dave. I really do believe this. They get Neighbors. They get Harrison Jr. Don't be surprised if that puppy kicks up to 9.5. Don't be surprised. They take an alignment. I think it stays right there. They get a couple wideouts. Who knows? But I think if they take a wideout, they take a star stutter. I'm not saying that they're going to be that better of a team. I'm saying Harrison Jr. Neighbors are big enough names where it's going to get bet enough where it goes to 9.5 because teams will go Harbaugh, offensive weapon, Herbert, take it. We see the Chargers hype every single year. I think just a star-studded wideout makes that number 9.5. Lineman, anything else, not. It stays at 8 until kickoff.
Look, it amazes me that number is at 8.5. I'll be honest with you, because what they're saying is they believe that the front office and Jim Harbaugh are going to fix this problem and fix it with the roster. I mean, if they had to play the season with the roster that we know of right now, it's a 2-win team. I mean, look at all the holes they have. You have no wide receivers. It's a 2-win team. And then the offensive line still needs help. I mean, so they believe the Chargers front office is going to fix this. To say you're almost going to double your win total, pretty impressive when you only play 17 games. So at the same time, would it shock me that the Chargers ended up beating that number 8.5? No, because as I said, I think we have faith. The 3 of us have faith, and I know the people who are writing on the side have faith that this Charger team is going in the right direction. Josh just brought up the Texans. Look, a year ago at this time, the Texans didn't have a quarterback and they didn't have a pass rushing specialist. Guess what? They fixed that right away in the draft on day 1. I mean, immediately they fixed that. The Texans all of a sudden were a team everybody was talking about. In just 2 years, the Texans now are, as Josh says, possibly the 3rd best team in the AFC. Look how quickly you can turn things around. But one thing the Texans did, and I think a lot of Charger fans would appreciate this too, man, they went for it. I mean, they didn't say we're getting multiple picks and we're going to win this draft in the 3rd and 4th round. They said we're winning this draft in the first couple picks of the 2023 draft, and watch this. And it worked. It worked. They became relevant. New head coach, they went defensive coach. Every other team's hiring an offensive guy. They hire a defensive guy. They get Stroud. They go ahead and get Anderson. All of a sudden, the Texans are a team you're going to see on primetime games a lot next year because they're able to fix it, and they were aggressive on day 1 of the draft.
They fixed the leader of the defense, the leader of the offense, and the leader of the team and the head coach. Like that. I mean, they did the best you could possibly do.
Almost one day. I mean, almost
one day. Dude, just within a couple weeks of each other. I don't know when the coach was hired, but you know what I mean. The Lions were right behind them.
On day 1 of the draft, you had 3 major changes. On day 1, you knew here are changes. Watch this. And they had faith in Stroud. I mean, look, no offense, Mario, but look how many Ohio State quarterbacks have failed. Almost every single one of them. Almost every single one of them. I can't think of one outside of Stroud that had success. They all bombed.
And how many coaches they go through? What, 2 or 3 of one and done?
Yeah. The Texans were a joke. Even in their own state, they were a joke.
A couple comments here. Diego Reds says, can we trade QJ for another 2nd-round pick? Him not knowing the playbook scares me. Dude, we're not getting a 2nd-round pick for QJ if we did want to trade him. There's no way anybody's giving us that. Honest to God, if we were to trade QJ, it'd be a 4th or 5th round pick in my eyes. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah, dude, the 2nd pick's I can go to bed and have a dream tonight, Dave, and I wouldn't even get that in my dream.
All right, what else?
Here's another one. Barnaby says, Dave, when are you going to buy glasses?
Oh,
I have glasses. Okay. Sunglasses or reading glasses. I have both. Okay. I always wear sunglasses out in the sun. That's why I kind of look like I've been in the tanning booth. It's not. But at the same time, I do have glasses. I don't like the way I look with glasses and a hat on at the same time. How's that?
fair
That's
point.
fair. Eddie Ramirez says Jim Harbaugh wanted to draft Julio Jones back in 2011.
Yeah.
So Julio Jones was drafted one pick ahead of the 49ers at number 6. I think that falls completely under what Mario was talking about earlier. But in the Falcons, like, wait, we get Julio Jones at 6? Like, who screwed up
Yeah.
here? Yeah. So I thought Julio Jones coming out of the draft at Alabama was a top 3 player. That top 10 is pretty good, though. There's a few Hall of Famers in there. But, yeah, I don't think Jim Harbaugh wanting Julio Jones was anything, crazy. I think a lot of people saw Julio Jones as the top player in the draft.
Julio Jones, give you a quick history lesson right here. Julio Jones was the key to Nick Saban's success at Alabama. He was the
100%.
first guy that bought in and got all the other great players to start coming to Alabama because of Nick Saban. Julio Jones is the one that took the gamble.
Yeah, Nick Saban will talk about that. He was one of the top recruits in the nation. He came over from Mobile to Alabama to Tuscaloosa, and it changed everything for Nick Saban because he was the first one. Like Dave said, he bought into the program, and yeah, he'll always thank Julio Jones for what happened at Alabama.
Josh, who else was in that class, by the way? Because I know it's a stacked
Yeah.
class.
Let me pull it up
Just
one
curious.
more time. Yeah, you're good. I know Von Miller's in that draft, and Patrick Peterson. First pick was Cam Newton. Second pick was Von Miller. Third pick, Marcel Darius. Fourth pick, AJ Green. Fifth, Patrick Peterson. 6, Julio Jones. 7, Alden Smith, Jim Harbaugh's pick. 8, Jake Locker. 9, Tyron Smith. And 10, Blaine Gabbert. 11, JJ Watt.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look at that,
Tough
man.
for Blaine
Look at
Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert and Jake Locker, who decided he just hated football. Look, I'm out.
Yeah.
Going back to Washington. This stinks. I hate this game.
Yeah.
Tough one.
Ridiculous.
I hope they would do like draft class reunions and they like have them stand in order or something, and you see like Blaine Gabbert or Tucker.
Would you show up? Dude, if you were a bust, would you show up? No way. You aren't showing up to that. So everyone can goof on you? Think Tony Manders wants to stand by Barry Sanders and Deion Sanders?
I think if you own it,
Why would I do that? Why would I get on a plane so people could go, oh, that's the guy? Think Jamarcus Russell's showing up at any of those? I'm the guy. I'm the guy that
I watched
disappointed.
film.
Yeah, I'm the guy that never watched a film but said I did. Oh my God. There you go. I love the question at the bottom here, Mario.
Yeah,
Oh.
Ow.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Yeah,
Mario, did
makes
you gain
nostalgic energy.
weight? What the hell? Who says that?
Clean
Who says that?
190.
Oh my gosh. What the hell's going
God.
on? I know. Jeez.
What are we gonna do?
I don't know. That was a shot. What are we going
I
to do
know.
here?
I can't even roast. Well, I can kind of roast him because
Yeah.
he's standing next to Mario, so
What's
I don't
the
know
saying?
if he's just
Hurt people hurt people.
yeah. That is fair. Maybe he's a super fan because he has Mario in the photo. I need
Okay.
to get a restraining order. Just thinking out loud.
Hey, Mario, I know Dave and I agree on a lot of things because, we're related and stuff. I know you're just a really nice guy, and I feel like you don't disagree with us sometimes when you really want to say, you're idiots. Are
Says
we
it to me
crazy?
all the time?
No, he says it to you. He doesn't say it to me. I want you to be 100% honest right now. Do
Okay.
you think Dave and I are crazy for saying Josh Palmer is a number 3 receiver? Because people in the comments think that Dave and I are out of our minds for saying Josh Palmer is a number 3 receiver.
I think like 2 at the best, 3 at the like average plan level. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say at all.
It's not.
Like I really, really don't. Yeah, it's not.
Why do
I
people
just
get
don't
hurt by that? Why do you get
People
hurt by
get
that?
so upset about
do.
2 things that we say. One is that we don't want an offensive lineman, and 2, that Josh Palmer is a number 3 receiver. Can he be a number 2? I think he can, but I don't think you should say he's going to be the number 2. Like on a good team, Josh Palmer is probably not a number 2. And don't tell me the Chiefs won with just a tight end. Last time I checked, Patrick Mahomes isn't on the Chargers. Okay. And the number one ability is availability. Josh Palmer didn't play a full season last year. Josh Palmer is a good player. He's one of the players on the team last year that I thought was really good when he played. But Josh Palmer is not like an all-pro receiver or anything like that. He's a good player, but there's no way in hell he's the top receiving option on a good team. He's just not.
But this is a passing league. Why do people get their feelings hurt? Josh Palmer's going to get plenty of work. What's the problem here? Like, you know what I mean? It's not like because Josh Palmer's a number 3, it's never going to get the ball. Number 3s get work all the time. What are we talking about? What are we doing here?
Yeah, they think we're like insulting Josh Palmer by saying he's a 3.
Sorry.
Like,
the guy, know what I'm insulting him on? Be available. When I turn my TV on, I want to know you're active. That's all I care about. Are you active? Because if you aren't active, you aren't any good to us. We see it all the time.
I think too.
QJ's a 4 at this point, by the way, too. People get upset.
44.
Right now, we have Palmer and QJ as our 1 and 2. It's like, bro, you cannot be actually serious about that. Like, what has Quentin Johnston proven to you so far to say he's anything more than a 4? Right? Am I taking crazy pills?
No, I'm with you on that. I think Quentin, you gotta give him one. I think you give him one more year to kind of see.
I'm not writing off Quentin Johnston, but people say
but right
he's
now,
number 2. It's like, why would you say that? Like at this point in time.
At this point in time,
he only has one way to go, and that's up. If you guys say he's more than what we're saying he is and what his stats show he is and how the Chargers used him, you're out of your mind. He hasn't shown you anything. What you want and what is reality are 2 different things. You understand? I mean, come on. Yeah. This is ridiculous. I understand this is your favorite team. We got it. We wanted to see QJ do well. You know, yeah, we predicted he wasn't going to do well. He didn't do well. There was no fun in that for us. We want to see him do well. But when you look at his numbers surrounded by the other wide receivers that were taken in the draft that all produced, the Chargers whiffed. Straight out, after 1 year, the Chargers whiffed. And, man, I tell you what, if you thought it was tough learning a playbook and following the system with Staley as your head coach, good luck being accountable to Jim Harbaugh. Like, you better figure this out. Like, he would be one of those guys that wouldn't shock me, and Charger fans are going to lose their mind in 2 seconds. If all of a sudden Chargers release 2023 first-round pick Quentin Johnston, it would not shock you. He better be ready to go. Like, he better be right now in the facility learning everything he needs to learn because it can't be up here where he fails. And they told us on TV it was up here that he was failing, let alone he wasn't following the proper protocol and learning how to catch a NFL pass.
I think the pressure on Quentin Johnston is a lot more this next year for 2 reasons. 1, he's not a rookie anymore. It's like you've been in the league already for a year. 2, he was not drafted by Joe Ortiz or Jim Harbaugh. They inherited him. There's no allegiance to Quentin Johnston. Quentin Johnston was tied to Tom Telesco, so they're going to give him all the chance in the world to improve and learn the playbook and all that crap. Jim Harbaugh, I guarantee you, has no time for that. Like, dude, you either catch the ball or you don't. Like, you're not going to play. So I don't think people saying Quentin Johnston's going to be our number 2 is fair to Quentin Johnston. It's like when saying Gerald Everett, he's going to be our future tight end. Dude, Gerald Everett's good, but he's not a number 1 on a good team. I will say the Chargers do have a better wide receiver room than the Bills at this point in time. If you guys want to smile about something. Josh Palmer is good, man. I like Josh Palmer. He's probably better than anybody the Bills have for sure. But to say Josh Palmer's a 1, dude, you're out of your mind. There's no way Josh Palmer's a 1. He's a 2 or a 3.
And you kind of mentioned it, like that's not fair to him either to be like
it's not
a 1 because it's like
he was never
not a 1.
He was never brought in at any point in time to be a 1.
Yeah,
ever.
Exactly, and it's a disadvantage to him. He's gonna be a great 2 for us, fantastic 2. I'd say hell even like Everett, like he's a number 2 tight end for the Bears. He's gonna kill that role.
Played above his head when he played.
Yeah, way above his head. Yeah. What are you gonna do?
All right.
No,
I've
like
seen the
that
Quentin
rant. That was a good
Johnston
rant.
support on the side. Hey, look, want to see him do well. Yeah, I want to see Bosa do well. Doesn't sound like it. I do. I want to see anyone that wears that Charger uniform do well. When they don't do well, we call them out. When they do well, we become fans very quickly. I mean, let's be honest. Austin Eckler fell in that category. When Austin Eckler came into the league, nobody knew Austin Eckler was. But Austin Eckler earned his way and became a fan favorite and actually produced. This is what they're expecting these guys to do. That's why they pay them checks. That's why they draft them. That's why they bring them in the building. Anyone who wants to defend Quentin Johnston right now after year one, you're out of your mind. You're in love with the guy, but he's not producing. Okay, he's that
It's gonna
kid
be a
at
big
the end of
test
the,
year.
yeah, he's a kid at the end of the bench that plays 6 outs on defense because gets his one at bat. But you're going to tell all your friends he's an all-star. He's not. Your kid stinks. Okay, that's the way it is.
And Quentin Johnston, by the way, is not reading your comments saying that you support him. Just be honest with yourself. Okay. We all seen that he hasn't played up to his potential. You're not going to meet Quentin Johnston. All right. He doesn't know who you are. Just like,
There you
good
go.
Lord.
Yeah,
man.
if he's like reading comments like that too, it's like we should probably be on the field. You know? It's like I think I understand the problem.
There you go. All right. Well, there you have it. So we'll be back next week. Again, one of the things we're going to do looking at this draft, because there are going to be more and more things that come out. I love how these drafts are jumping around. I am so confused in the top 5 exactly. And just on the quarterback situation, I can't tell you after Caleb Williams if it's Jaden Daniels or Drake May going number 2. It could be J.J. McCarthy. You're seeing all these different moves as far as things go. I'm with Josh, the 2 quarterbacks. It surprised me that all of a sudden are falling quickly, even though they haven't played a game for some reason, are Nix and Penix. Don't understand why. Penix is extremely accurate. The Raiders brought him in this week to take a look at him. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm glad we are not drafting a quarterback this year, just for the idea is you're so nervous if your guy is already taken. Chargers are in a pretty good situation figuring out what they can do. So we'll figure it all out again as we're talking next week. We have more guests coming on. I want to thank Burt Grossman for joining us earlier in the show as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the show. If you listen to the show through the Bolt City Podcast Odyssey app, that's awesome. At the same time, if you are listening through YouTube and you get a chance to catch the show live, please leave comments. I love reading through those as well. We'll be back. Josh, are we back on Tuesday?
Yeah.
You back in
on
Tennessee?
Tuesday. Yeah, I'll be
All right.
back.
Back on Tuesday.
We'll be back on Tuesday, aiming for 1 o'clock Pacific time. Thanks, everybody.
See you on Taco Tuesday.